Start off this video with running over a mask. Chicago just lifted its mask and vaccine mandates today, so if you see an excess amount of masks littered on the street, that's why. What is up, guys? It's your least favorite moto vlogger, Brian636, coming to you guys with easily the most asked DM question to me ever. And that is, Brian, what is the best beginner motorcycle? So obviously there's enough people that want to know about this. Hopefully they find this video before they just keep messaging me. So guys, before I even start talking about this, I really am curious. I want to see down in the comments what your guys' first bike was. So no matter where you are or where you're from, go ahead and write down your first motorcycle that you ever had. Oh, that's a shitty day for you, my guy. You're getting a ticket. And when you're down there by the comment section, make sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell so you get all my notifications. Mine personally was a 1994 Ninja 500. It was a great Parallel 2 motorcycle. But without further ado, let's get into my top 3 best beginner motorcycles. And yes, I picked 3 because I think they all bring something different to the table. Now, I know I haven't ridden this bike in a long time, and I did ride it today for a reason. This is a Honda Grom. Now, if you live under a freaking rock, Honda came out with this in 2015 or 2014, and it quickly has gained a cult following. They're on their 3rd generation of them now. This is the 2nd. I've owned the 1st. I haven't owned the 3rd generation just yet. But I'm going to put this as probably my top favorite best beginner motorcycle. I always try to steer people towards this bike for a whole host of reasons. It's light. It's not very powerful. It's extremely easy to pick up, even if you're a girl. I mean, it can't be more than 150, 200 pounds, which is ridiculously light. And look at that. I'm giving it full throttle, and we're still at like 35, 36. It's a really nice, easy, smooth, predictable power band. You can get one used for around 3,000 bucks. And of course, I'm assuming, if you're messaging me, you probably want to get into stunt riding. And this bike, for wheeling and learning how to wheelie, is ridiculously easy. The foot brake is so damn forgiving. The power band is so freaking smooth. It is just like the perfect bike to learn how to wheelie on. Now, for a lot of old school stunters, including myself, this bike was not really an option when I originally started stunt riding. This bike has really picked up traction here in recent years. So a lot of the OG guys might give you some crap, but don't listen to them, man. This is a great beginner bike, and all the skills that you're going to learn on this bike are going to transfer over to your big bike.
Scared me doing that.
Oh, I scared you? You scared me. So whether you are a beginner or an experienced stunt rider or just a rider period, you need a bike to go get groceries on. You need a bike for the pits if you're drag racing or anything like that. I think this bike just really does fit the bill for just about everything. And for that reason, I don't think I'll ever get rid of my Grom. But if you are a beginner rider and looking for a bike to learn how to shift on, how to brake, how to do a lot of things properly, this is the one. I'm telling you, Honda Grom, they perfected it. They just did. I'm not as big of a fan of the Z125 for a couple different reasons, and I know that's coming from me, a Kawasaki guy. Their legroom is a little bit different. The power band is just a little bit, I don't know what it is. I've ridden a lot of Z's, but the Grom is just, it's the one for me. It just is. So amazing, man, that it's 50 and sunny out right now. Oh my God, I've missed these days. Get off this thing really quick and talk about it for a second as well. And I don't want to feel like I'm just bragging on this Grom, but I've had this question asked so many times that I've had this answered so many times that I have so many different reasons to really go through. Another huge thing that a lot of people don't think of, especially beginners when they're getting a bike, is how long that bike's been around and how easily the parts are available. So parts availability is something that is huge. So for these random brands like Husqvarna's or these one-off bikes that were only around for 1 year, 2 years max, and they faded out, those parts are getting really hard to find. And on top of that, dealerships sometimes won't even work on them. Like if you have like an older Triumph or something like that, some of these sport bike shops won't even take it. Now this bike is the exact opposite. This motor has been around from Honda ever since the CRF 50. This base is exactly the same. It's probably the easiest motorcycle engine out right now to work on personally in your garage. It's pretty much just these 4 main bolts, and you can take off the head. You can rebuild the freaking top end of this thing. It's ridiculously easy. It's ridiculously cheap to maintain. However, the reliability of this motor is no joke. Stunters put this thing on the rev limiter like this for, I've heard, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes of just this at night, and this thing will not blow up, which is a true testament to how well Honda built this motor. And this is the last little thing I'll say about this bike. before I move on to number 2 and number 3 is especially for the guys who are looking to learn how to stunt ride or eventually want to get into it some type of form, is the little amount of parts you really do need to stunt this thing. If you're looking at this bike, there's very, very little done to it. I think the only thing I have done is actually these bars, a lever, which you don't really need. So just the dirt bike bars and a sub cage, and you don't really even need the sub cage. The only thing I personally think you need on a Grom is bars, better set bars. The Grom bars, they come a little bit goofy, they're a little thin, so I always will upgrade to dirt bike bars. But other than that, guys, it really does not need anything. There's a stock foot brake, no oil pump mod, no nothing like that. I know I get a lot of flack for it not having an oil pump mod on my motors. I've never blown a motor ever, no matter if it's a sport bike, mini bike, whatever. So I know I'm hard on them, but I don't run an oil mod on this thing, and I don't think you need one either. Just run a little bit of extra oil. A lot of people also are like, oh, stock gearing, this, that. It's like, yes, this is stock gearing. You can do everything in the world on this. You can pull it up in 4th gear on the highway. However, it's geared low enough that you can do circle wheelies in a parking lot. Now, obviously, I didn't bring 3 bikes with me, so we'll have to discuss the other 2 like I'm riding them, because I've ridden them both a lot. Circle wheelies are really fun when you're riding on a Grom. Out here in Garfield Park. Beautiful, beautiful Garfield Park. Number 2, and I think this is a bike that you should seriously consider, especially if you don't live in a very urban area. The DRZ 400. I love this bike. Oh my God. Guys, I got my first DRZ 400, I think in 2012, maybe 2013. I rode it around for quite a bit, and I really do regret selling it. It's a bike that Suzuki literally hasn't changed in, like, I don't know, 20 years. It's still carbureted. In 2022, it's still carbureted. The motor hasn't changed almost at all. Now, I've put this bike on this list for a lot of the same reasons as the Grom. Everything from reliability to parts galore. Built like a tank. It's really hard to blow one of those motors. I don't even think I know anyone who's blown one of those motors. I know a couple guys that have blown Grom motors, but not a DRZ. Now, what the Grom does lack is top speed and, of course, its size. Its size might be a little bit unattractive to some riders, and I understand, you know, some grown men, they really don't want to be seen on a little bike. I get it, whatever. It's not that masculine, but it is extremely fun. But if you don't live in an urban area, its top speed of around 60 might be a little bit slow for you guys. Got a little bit of a traffic jam here. So if you need to get on a highway or you want to do some type of adventure riding, a DRZ might be the choice for you, because it does top out at about 75-80. It's a lot bigger of a bike. It's a full-size supermoto, and you can definitely hit some jumps and some ramps on it. Not saying you can't on a Grom either, but it's one of those bikes that are just that good. A lot of guys like to put handbrakes on them and a sub cage. Very minimum parts that you really need to stunt it. If you are one of those guys who want to eventually learn how to stunt or wheelie or anything like that, this is a great, great, great first bike. They come stock with steel frames. The frame is where you add the oil on the DRZ. It's kind of a little bit goofy, but it's such a proven design time and time again that it's hard to hate on, man. It's just, it works. It just works. Man, does it feel good that we got rid of that mask mandate here in Chicago. I cannot wait to start doing hood eats again and like eating inside. Oh my God, look at that. One of my stickers from, oh, that's been on there for a while. Insurance on both these bikes too, insurance and gas and everything like that. I cannot explain to you how cheap it is. Like insurance on a Grom, if you have a decent driving record and you just want liability, we're talking dollars a month, people. It's damn near nothing. You can get a DRZ for a little bit more expensive. They sit around that $4,000 or $5,000 mark. Sometimes even around that $6,000 if they got some nice parts on them. But do not get it twisted. You will never lose money on these motorcycles, especially these first 2. There's only a couple $100 difference in between like a 2nd or a 3rd generation Grom with very little miles and a 1st generation Grom with a lot of miles, because it's so proven that these things aren't going to fuck up. So yes, my number 2 choice is the Suzuki DRZ 400. This is something that's kind of unique to Garfield Park. This right here, you see him shaking those bags, it means he's selling, like literally right on the street. Garfield Park especially is known for having a really open air drug market, which is pretty insane. It means they don't really use trap houses out here. It means they literally stand on the side of the street and sell drugs. Mostly heroin too. My 3rd pick, and yes, 3rd Japanese motorcycle, is the Yamaha FZ0 freaking 7. Now this comes with a couple different names, and I'll just pretty much say it's the motor that comes inside of this. The FZ07, the MT07, the R7, all coming with that base and same frame style as the FZ. Come with that amazing parallel twin that you can just rev to the moon, and parts for them are starting to show up everywhere. Stunt bike park guys are starting to come out with them all over the place. You can buy pretty much every type of part you could ever want for it, and they're easily taking over the 636 and the F4i with how common they are at some of these big group rides. Yamaha really did hit it out of the park when it came to designing that motor, that frame, and just the functionality of the whole thing. Now, it is the newest on the list, so as far as parts and knowledge and stuff like that, it's not as vast as the Grom and the DRZ, and the provenness and reliability and the longevity is not there yet, just because it still is only about 5 years old. It really does have that street bike feel. The power is a little bit much for a first bike, but it's nothing that you can't tolerate, obviously. Like I said, go down in the comments and look at some of these other people's first bikes. I'm sure there's bound to be that guy that says, I was on the freaking Hayabusa, I don't know what you're talking about. And that is fine, because a lot of guys do grow into power, and that FZ07 isn't like a ridiculous amount of power that it's not going to absolutely break your neck if you give it too much gas. This bike can get on the freeway with ease if you're looking for like a really good commuter bike or something like that. This bike definitely fits the bill. Insurance, really cheap. However, the price on it is a little bit pricey. They're definitely going for that 6-7. And if you're looking at an R7, good luck trying to find one under 10. They are extremely expensive. So they're the most expensive ones, but for the guys that are really looking for a good bike that they can possibly grow into as well and not be afraid to get on the highway and topping it out the whole time, this bike is the one. Linking up with the boys. I was just vlogging about the best 3 beginner motorcycles. I said the Grom, the FZ07, and the DRZ 400. It's a great build. He's got dirt bike bars on it, a handbrake, a sub cage, and some axle sliders. Really basic, stock gearing, and it just works. It's a great motor and a great base to build from. I'm glad that I got to run into these guys today. And here's an FZ07 with very similar parts as well. A sub cage, a full cage, handbrake, a stock gearing, with bars and a triple. Super nice bike, really easy, and it just does the trick. He also has a stunt seat on this, because your FZ07 does come with your passenger seat. Not saying your Grom doesn't, but I mean, this is a big bike. This is a motorcycle. This is like a mini bike, and that's like a supermoto dirt bike. Alright guys, if you are new here, if you enjoyed the video, anything like that, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you are new, so you stay up to date on my most recent videos. I'm happy that I got to meet up with the exact bikes I was talking about. Talk about a coincidence. If this video helped you at all decide on your next beginner bike, let me know. All of them bring pros and cons to the table, but I think if you choose one of these 3, you're not going to be disappointed at all with your choice. Because what stunt riding does prove is the reliability of a motor, because I don't think there's a harder sport on a motor besides stunt riding. I mean, you're starving it for oil, you're at the very high RPMs, you're running at very high temperatures because it's not getting the wind flow. So if a motor can survive stunt riding, it's probably a good motor. That being said, guys, this is your least favorite motor vlogger, Brian636, telling you, have a good day, get out, enjoy some nice weather, and don't sleep on getting a new bike any longer. Do it. I promise you won't regret it. I'm out of here. Peace.